Hello and welcome to day 10 of our January Challenge 2023, and a new piece now, something new and very different from what we've learnt so far this month. So this is a very special piece. It's called There Were Always Going to Be Owls, and it is a commission that Harps Northwest commissioned Lauren Scott, who did that beautiful arrangement of both sides now that we've been looking at, to create for a very special pair in our Harps Northwest family. Susan, who is a harp player and harp teacher and much loved in our family, and her new husband, Mike, who is a fantastic musician and, among other things, plays the saxophone. So this piece is actually created for solo harp, Susan, solo saxophone, Mike, and then ensemble harp, that's you and me. Okay, so although it's an ensemble harp part, it absolutely will stand alone as something that we can learn now together, even if you're not a participant that lives local to where we are. If you are a participant that lives local to where we are, Harps Northwest members at some point in the coming year are going to get an opportunity to play through this with Susan and Mike as a full piece, which will be really magical. So without further ado, I'm going to play you the ensemble part, and you'll hear how it really does stand alone as quite a quirky, interesting study type piece. Lots of interesting things in it, effects, and then we will get on to learning today's first two bars. So this is where the harp joins in. I'm not going to do all the repeats as marked, because I would be here a long time for this playthrough. You don't need that. So here we go. Here we go. Should actually end like this. There we go. Okay, did you hear how that ending that I repeated round and round is the same as the beginning part? So the two bars that we're going to focus in on today are going to come back to us towards the end of this week as well. Okay, so let's look at the music that we have for today. So first of all, there's a first line which just says tacit until cue. Okay, tacit means you're not playing. So tacit means don't play until you're cued in. Okay, so if this was being played along with Susan and Mike, then it would be waiting for someone who's conducting, or if the harp ensemble are able to, being mindful and watching and knowing the piece a bit, and then watching for a really obvious lead in from our soloists as to when we come in. Obviously in this setup we don't need to worry about that. So let's look in at what is marked as bar 80. Okay, and these two bars that we have here, repeated 8 times in total. So played once, repeated a further 7. In our right hand we have this octave C, nice and high, and then we go down and we put our thumb on the C that did have our 4th finger, and we have 3 in a row. So that A, B, C, don't be put off by the notes sort of appearing to sort of splay out. That's how we see it clearly when they're notes in a row that are written right down next to each other. We're going to play those 3 and then we're going to immediately put our fingers back on those strings like that. So we want to cut that sound dead. Now, written above that, there's this little V on its side, which is an accent. So we want to be strong with it. And then there's the little staccato dot. So the staccato dot is the reason we're making sure to stop it dead. There is some reverberation happening elsewhere on the harp. That's okay at the moment. But we also want to be quite forceful with it. So really sort of pull it strong. Okay. So should we just try literally those 2 beats together? Okay. So it would be 3 and 4 and 2 and. Okay, this will actually make more sense when the left hand's playing too, but if we just try that together, here's our counting. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and. So and then stop it dead. Okay, excellent. Let's put the left hand underneath that because it really will help. So the left hand is on A at the bass, E a fifth above that, and then not completing the octave but going up to a C with the thumb. You can either place all 3 if you can reach them, and as always, I like the idea of opening up and being mindful where your thumb's going rather than trying to go this, then this, then this. And also, you may find that feels too big a reach for you. If it does, then you can place the 4 and the 2, be a bit more relaxed with that, and then having played the 4, you can sort of rotate round and bring your thumb up towards the red so that it's on as you're playing finger 2. And then you can be strong on it. So there's 2 different ways, either placing all together or doing a bit of a hop to it. Okay, now these play on beats 1, beats and, beats 2. So filling that together with the top hand, we then have something happening on every sort of quaver beat, every 8th note beat. Okay, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, and we stop that. Now, as you can hear, there's an awful lot of reverberation happening now, a lot of notes continuing to sound. So the next thing that's written in the left hand there is slap damp, and then in brackets it says percussive damp. So with our left hand, we then want to go back on to a similar area and below for where we've just been playing. So we've just played this A, E, C. So in that area there, we're going to go on with a lovely open palm, really nice flat palm, as flat as you can do so that it all kind of hits on. And we're going to allow it to make a noise as it hits. So it's an intentional sound. It doesn't have to be a crazy loud sound. You don't want to be sort of knocking your harp over, making yourself wobble, because especially if this is played as an ensemble and there are many harps playing, that effect will add up among everybody playing. But it does want to stop the sound and wants to have that effect of having made an audible damp rather than trying to be really subtle about it and doing it really gently and quietly. So let's add that in to what we've been doing. So our top hand's up on the octave C, our left hand's got the stretched out A, E stretching to the C. Okay, and that slap damp is going to happen on the very next half beat. So far we've got 1 and 2 and 3. Happens on beat 3 that we slap. Okay, you'll get it. Here's our count in 3 and 4 and. Okay, so hopefully not hearing too much beyond that. There might be the odd thing, but don't worry. If we try that again, so just something happening in every quaver or in every 8th note space. Okay, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and slap. Excellent. Okay, let's try that again one last time. Ready? 3 and 4 and. Excellent. Okay, we will try that now one more time, just a little bit quicker, just so you get the feel of what you're going to be aiming for. So we'll just try it a little bit quicker right now. So we're going to go, I'll play it for you first, give you the idea. Okay, so 1 and 2 and 3. Okay, just a touch quicker, but just to help move you in that right direction. Here we go. Ready? 3 and 4 and. Excellent. So try and aim for that speed and keep building that up. Then, having just played down here with 1, 2, 3, We're then leaping up to B, and we're going to do 4 notes in a row. B, A, G, F. Okay. I think that it's going to be an interesting balance between your hand automatically going there and you looking for it. I find that I can maybe 8 times out of 10 go like this. But that was one of the 2 that I didn't. So I landed 1 note too low. So being conscious that as we damp, we don't need to particularly look at ourselves damping. So we can damp and our eyes can go to look at where that B is. So knowing where you want your focus to be at any given point is really useful with the harp. So if we just do the right hand from the beginning, we've got the octave C, just kind of walk through it with me. So we're going to play the C. We're going to go down to those 3 notes and play those and immediately damp them by going back on and then come off. And then we're coming up and we're doing 4 in a row and we want to try and place it as one movement. B, A, G, F. Okay, so let's try that in time. I think we might as well add the left hand because you've already done it and nothing is happening in the left hand while the right hand's doing the next notes anyway. Okay, so from the beginning, hands together, just this first full bar. Ready? 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, damp, slap. Excellent. And as you practice it, you could at that very end point get your thumb back on the B for what's about to happen. That would just be a handy thing even as you practice just this bar. Let's try that again. All hands on again, trying to open up the whole hand. 3 and 4 and slap. Excellent. And I've just got my thumb now sat on the B. So moving on, having got that thumb on the B, my third's going to open up to the E. So I'm 1 below a red, 1 below a black in terms of physical position. And we've got this grace note down to the E. And we really want it to be a real throwaway note. It's the E that's important. There we go. So the first one I did, my B was too vital, too important. And actually what we want to hear is the E. Da, 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 dee, da, dum is actually the tune. So there we go. So wants it to be as quick as possible. The way grace notes work, and you'll see this in how it's lined up on the page, it's an anticipatory note. So the E, that long E that we've aimed for, wants to land on beat 1. So the B has to come ahead of the beat, and then that E still lands on beat 1. Okay, and that lands with an octave and a fifth in the left hand, E, B, E. This shape that I so often call one of those because it's such a lovely frequent harp shape. So E, B, E. So thinking about that grace note, if you have that B, E in the top, the B is going to be on its own, and then that bass E is going to land with the E in the top hand. Okay, let's just try those notes there. So it's the beginning of that second bar. Okay, of music. So if I give you a 3 and 4 and. Okay, so you're with me now. Let's do that again. Ready? 3 and 4 and. Well done. Let's try and put that on the end of what we've done so far. This lesson's quite a long lesson today, I realise, but it's such a significant 2 bars because we're going to play 8 times now, and it comes back later on where we do it a further 4 times. So it's probably the trickiest section as well of the whole piece. So it's worth the investment in this now for the payoff once you've got it. So from the beginning of that line, it's marked as bar 80. It's kind of our first full bar of music. From the beginning of that line, just to that point we've reached there. So we're just missing off the last half bar at the moment. Beginning. Ready. 3 and 4 and. Well done. How did your grace note sound? Try and think. I mean, even as I ask that, I feel like I'm pointing out the grace note to you, which will make you think more about the grace note. I don't want you to do that. I want you to think about how does the E sound? think about how does that E sound, not about how the grace note sounds. And then that will help that be what you're aiming for. Let's try it again. Ready? Hands on. Let the shoulders drop down. 3 and 4 and damp. Good. Okay. So one of the things I briefly mentioned but didn't as I was teaching the exact moment, that right hand when it does the 3 notes in a row, the ABC, and we go back on, try not to then get glued to those strings. So you play it, you go back on, but even as this hand does its damp, I want that hand to come off so that it can be looking and moving to where it goes next. Okay, so just be mindful of that. So we'll try it again, same starting place. Ready? Here we go. 3 and 4 and damp. Good. How did your E sound? So just these last couple of notes in the bar now, last couple of beats. We have a B with this perfect circle above it. That perfect circle tells us it's a harmonic. Okay, it's a right hand harmonic. It's happening in our right hand. So the typical way of doing right hand harmonics, and what a harmonic does is it basically puts pressure on the string at the halfway point. Now that halfway point is between where it comes out of the soundboard to where it's touching whatever is happening up here. So in this case, it's my lever. So from that lever to there, the halfway point is about there, I think. You apply pressure with your knuckle of finger 2. So finger 2 applies pressure. My thumb is going to pluck above, and then as I do it, it's like this motion here. So I pluck and pull away. So you don't leave. If I leave the finger on, my finger's continuing to damp it. It won't ring out. So it's just for the purpose of the pluck, and then you pull away. I like to think of it as a bit like snapping your fingers. That's how long you want to put the pressure on the string for the length of the snap, but then it's done. They're no longer touching each other. Okay, definitely something to practice. Now, given that this happens a lot in this piece, if you want a cheat, because if you do that a little bit below the middle or a little bit above the middle, you won't be able to get that clear ringing note. Did you notice how it makes it sound like an octave higher? Sounds like that note, but in a more bell-like way. So my little cheat for finding that without having to overthink it is to take a pencil or a biro pen. Could be quite good. This will rub off, so it's not going to permanently mark your string, but it will rub off. But that's why I'm choosing something like a pencil or a biro pen. And I actually mark, you have to go over it a few times, and it might need to be a darker pencil than the one I've got, but I mark where I want my thumb to hit. Okay, I can just about see that. A biro pen may have been better. And then I've got that visual guide and I can hit it every time, I hope. Okay, so we've just done the B, E, and then we come down here and play that harmonic, and then we open up to an octave E. So my 4th is on the E, close to where I've been. My thumb's all the way up here, completing the octave. And it's the top E that's the important one. This 4th finger is a grace note. So as throw away as you can, let's hear for that top note. Okay? It's can be so fast that it almost sounds like it's together. And I'd almost rather you played it directly together than you played a slow grace note, because grace notes aren't slow. It's not a grace note if you're playing it slowly. Okay? So you can also ignore grace notes altogether. So this piece would then become... could just be that, and that would be okay as well. All right, for the piece. Especially as it's an ensemble and other people will be playing them. All right, let's try putting it all together so we can get to the end of this long lesson. Here we go. You're doing great. Beginning of that line. 3 and 4 and. I'm going to loop loop it round. Just do one more time. Okay, well done, super. We'll do a play along video where we loop it lots more times, just for you to really get into the zone with that. So we've covered an awful lot today. I know it's only 2 bars, but really significant 2 bars with a lot going on it. Isn't it fun? Isn't it exciting? I'm loving it. I will see you in the play along video, and then join me tomorrow when we learn the next 4 bars, which are more repetitive in their patterns, so not as intense as these 2. All right, thank you, well done.